Questions of truth. And I have with me Merissa Hansen, who is a investigative reporter.
Yeah, like I do muckraking, basically.
You do what?
Muckraking. So like,
Muckraking.
yeah, so I'm really big on exposing corruption in my local government.
Okay. And that's Houston.
Yeah, that's Houston, Texas. I live in Merissa County, which is one of the largest counties in the United States. Houston is probably one of the biggest cities. It's the third biggest city in the United States.
Houston.
Yeah.
It's the biggest city in Texas.
Yeah.
So behind New York and LA.
Yeah.
Then it's Houston.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So.
How many people are in Houston?
About 4 million.
4
Maybe
million.
more. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Okay. So you muckrack.
Yeah. So I moved back to Houston from Santa Fe about 10 months ago, and when I left the city, which was only a year ago, it was in great condition. And when I came back, the crime rates had skyrocketed. The homelessness was like out of this world, and so I was like, I need to take a look into my commissioner's courts, my city council, to see what's going on. And
You're born and raised in Houston?
Yeah, I was born and raised there. And my car had been broken into about 3 times in a matter of 6 months. And I live in a good neighborhood, so there's no excuse for that. So I was trying to figure out what was going on because, I live in a red state. I thought that like we were safe in my city. I thought that everything was under control. And, it was like a light got switched on.
Just in a year.
Yeah, just in a year. It's been real bad. And so I went into commissioner's court when I got back home, and I was sitting in there for an hour, and I started to realize what was going on. The Democrats had agreed to party law in court, and that they were just basically running through this like laundry list of like money laundering schemes. So they have in the commissioner's court agenda, which they drop every other Friday. It's about 400 things, and the very first
They
part,
drop it, meaning they release it.
they
to the
release
public?
it to the public.
On
And
the website?
yes, on the commissioner's court website, which everyone in their city or county can look up their commissioner's court websites and just check through the agenda items to see where the money's going. So I started to realize that they were basically trying to break our city's budget, and they were moving around a lot of money during COVID times.
What's your website?
I don't have a website. I just have a Twitter page, which I just drop everything, which is
Okay.
Merissa Hansen.
Okay, so listeners can go to Twitter and find you on Twitter.
Yeah.
Right.
So basically,
And you've been muckraking for how long?
probably about 2 years now. So yeah. And it's something.
Journalist by training or by choice?
By choice. Yeah. I just like to, expose the corruption and try to bring some light to what's happening. And because my city is ran by Democrats, and we've got the Houston Chronicle, which is run by very, very progressive Marxists, they're not informing a lot of the people in our city about what's happening on a county and city level. So a lot of people think that everything's sunshine and great, when really they covertly defunded our police by $20 million by taking the rollover times that the Houston Police Department had. They created this whole section in our commissioner's court agenda, which is just solely for COVID funds. And the amount of money, like in the past 3 months, they passed through a $15 million budget item for broadband internet that is only for
And you're just
11
showing me
months.
that on your phone.
Yeah, and then they also have upped their vaccine budget by $19 million. They put up a tent for $17 million, which was only up for 2 weeks during COVID. And it never saw a patient, it never saw anyone, and the amount of money that was going to the contractors to put up this tent was just astronomical. And so when I went to dig in to look at the contract, it's this company called Garner Environmental, and they're this like global services, and they
Global.
yeah, global, and they have and the CEO or the CFO used to work at the YMCA as an accountant, and it's just there's a lot of iffy things that these government contracts are going to. Like it's just and I don't think that a lot of people in my city realize the amount of money that's getting thrown through in our commissioner's report. So I just every Friday or every other Friday when the agenda item drops, I go through everything, and it's about 300 to 400 items, and I start highlighting the stuff that I'm like, this is questionable, this is questionable, this is questionable, and just recently they redistricted our county, and a lot of people don't understand the whole thing with redistricting and how it's a really, really bad thing if it's done to gerrymander. Like, because we know that the Democrats love to accuse us, the Republicans, of gerrymandering, but really what's
I'm a
happening?
Democrat.
Well,
No kidding. I'm not. I'm just kidding.
well, I mean, yeah, but so right now our redistricting map looks like a puzzle. But it's not in 4 quadrants. It's the silliest redistricting map you've ever seen. But it gives the Democrats a leg up on voting. It gives them control over our vote, and it also gives them control over raising our taxes. And with the amount of money that I'm seeing getting blown through our commissioner's court, they're going to break down our city's budget and bankrupt us. But if they have the control to raise our taxes, they can do whatever they want. They can just keep on running through all of our taxpaying dollars, and it's no big deal. They don't care. And
What's their objective?
I think that they're trying to break down our city, and I think that they're trying to the rise in crime was caused by the bail reform that they passed in my city. So far, 154 people have been murdered. Innocent people have been murdered by people.
You said 20 million.
What?
Police department defund.
Yeah, they defunded our police department by $20 million. And then one of our sheriffs went up to city council to ask for more squad cars, and our city council member Abby Kamen refused because she said that they were not electric vehicles. And I was like, our police need cars. You shouldn't be doing something that's like that. It's wrong just to say that they're not EVs. And so when I went to look into Abby's, who donated to her campaign, because it's a city council member, and it was all these out-of-state donations. And I'm like, why the heck is someone that's in city council getting all, 6 figures worth of donation from out of state? Why? What stake do they have in our city to be donating to something like that? And then I dug deeper, and Abby sat on the board of the ADL. We know about the ADL and what they've been doing, and who's involved with the ADL and how that money
Is that
goes.
DC?
Anti-defamation league, and they're very
Based in DC or?
yes, but they're very against anything that's Republican, and they're all for that Green New Deal stuff, and so you kind of start to understand the dichotomy of what they're it's like having a lobbyist, but for an anti-defamation league. But their agenda, they claim that it's all about the hate speech and stuff like that, but they're the ones that are perpetuating the hate speech quite a bit. Abby had the audacity, after Kyle Rittenhouse was found not guilty, to say that the case should have been overturned and that the prosecutor should reappeal the case. And I'm like, no, that doesn't work that way. And this girl has a law degree. I'm like, you can't, when a judge or when a jury says he's not guilty, the prosecution cannot appeal that.
Right.
I'm like, how are you a lawyer or in a city council position if you're doing that? And then right after that, she tweeted.
Have you asked her that?
I did.
You did. On Twitter?
Yeah.
But she caught her attention. She would reply.
No, she wouldn't. No, she's too scared. So she usually sends her trolls out for me, which is really fun. Because I actually knew Abby back in the day, and I know a lot of the people that I call her, which is
You knew her?
Yeah, I know her.
Classmate?
No, I actually knew her from I had volunteered at the ADL before I was away. Yeah, I was Jewish. I actually converted. But no, it was just, it's insane what these people are pushing and how they don't realize that, like Abby's the head of, like, security and, like, all of that stuff in our city council, and I'm like, she has no background in it. She was a civil, like, she did, like, voting rights laws, like, she was a voting rights lawyer, and I'm like, how does someone get put in charge of, like, our security council if you were a lawyer, and not a very good one to begin with? It's weird, isn't it? And so they put her, like, and she's, like, basically in charge of what's happening at the Astroworld event with, like, the investigation, and I'm like, how are these people getting placed in these positions when they have no background, or, like, they're basically just puppets, and they're just being told, like, doing what they're told. And my city is just riddled with corruption. Houston was built on a swamp, and it's created some serious swamp rangers.
Why is Houston, because of its size? You think Houston is being targeted?
Yes. If you see what's happened with Soros in Austin, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Austin, they defunded the police, and
Completely?
Yeah, they completely defunded the police. They can't like.
There's no police patrolling anywhere in Austin?
There are police, but they don't do call-outs anymore. Like, if you call and you're robbed,
911?
yeah, they won't come. Like, it's like murders and, like, hardcore stuff. And so my friend that works over at the Attorney General's office, he's basically
State.
Yeah. Well, no, at the city
Okay,
level.
city.
And he's like, we've been going nuts. Like, he said that Soros gave this group that was for defund the police, because they were about to refund the police. They had pushed it through almost, and then Soros comes in with $20 million and just totally stampedes through in Austin, Texas. And we've got Soros money in my county. So Lena Hidalgo, she worked with Internews in Myanmar, and Internews is funded by Open Society, which is
Soros.
Yeah. And then
It's funding BLM, right?
Yeah.
Is it also funding Antifa?
I'm not sure. I wouldn't be surprised. I've never.
But yeah.
It's hard to find the money line, because everything that Soros does is basically through dark money, like Arabella Advisors, and then he has this foundation, the 1630 funds, and all of that kind of stuff. So everything's kind of funneled through, like, this dark money process. But, like, as you can see right now with all of this bail reform stuff and the DAs that are all Soros DAs, the amount of carnage and the amount of people that have died and criminal behavior that has just shot up in every city that's owned by Soros. Like, you look at Kim Fox in Chicago, you look at, Chicago's a complete nightmare, but it's happening everywhere. And just because we're in a red state, it doesn't mean that it's not happening in your
Happening in
backyard.
Austin, it's happening in Houston.
Yeah, and so and I see it happening. Like, I've been watching the blue cities, and now I'm seeing it happen in my own city, and that's why I got so involved with this, because I was like, no, I don't want this happening. Like, it's hostile. It feels hostile in the city.
It's an invasion.
It's basically an invasion. Like, our city is being taken over by a crazed lunatic billionaire. Like, he's an evil billionaire that is creating chaos. I do believe that Soros wants to crush our economy, and because that's how he made all of his money in Europe.
Talk about that.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So Soros.
Was he a Nazi youth, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was Nazi youth, but how he made all of his money was that he hedged on the Great British Pound. And remember when it collapsed?
Yeah.
Okay, so probably about 20 years ago, maybe longer, the GBP collapsed, and he had hedged on it. And I think that he's basically...
Maybe he had an inside...
Yeah, well, I think he had an inside thing.
Sounds like Rothschild.
Yeah, it's no different. And I see him doing the same thing in our country. Like, so if you add the whole pandemic and like our economy isn't doing really well. The American dollar is worth what right now? It's not good.
Yeah.
So if it collapses, which it seems like we're going in that direction, Soros
This is
would
what
make
the Europeans want.
exactly.
Somebody like Soros would want that.
Well, Soros to make billions, trillions of dollars if he's betting against us, which I'm sure he is because he has basically created absolute chaos in our country right now.
So he bet against the sterling,
Yeah.
just the pound sterling.
Yeah.
And that's how he made his money. And so now he's using these kind of communist
DAs.
tactics.
Yeah, oh yeah. He's like rape and pillaging our entire country right now. Because like if you turn on the news, all you see is crime, and then all of these DAs and prosecutors and judges that are owned by Soros, just pushing through all of this crazy stuff that's gonna, create very hostile environments.
So Abby,
Abby.
is she connected to Soros?
I would presume so in some kind of way, shape, or form. I know that she's getting funded by him. I know for a fact that Hidalgo was funded by him. Rodney Ellis used to be a senator for Texas, and he got pushed out, and then he became a commissioner. And I think when Ellis came in, he was real bad news, and he, everything about him is just bad. You know about Sheila Jackson Lee, right?
The name sounds familiar.
So she tried to impeach Donald Trump.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and she's
Texas.
Yeah, it's Houston, and she's just as crooked as they come. She's real bad news, and so is Rodney Ellis. But in 2018, basically Lena Hidalgo came out of nowhere. She wasn't even from the United States. She had became a citizen in 2015. She was 28 years old when she started to run for our county judge.
Where's she from?
She was from Colombia, supposedly. And she lived in Peru, and she also lived in Mexico. And then,
American?
no, her parents and her moved from Mexico City to Houston, Texas, into a very wealthy neighborhood. She went to good school when she was 15 years old. And then she ended up at Stanford and then Harvard. And if you look at her thesis, it's about like the crushing of capitalism. And then she went off to Harvard, and she was doing, I guess she was writing her thesis or something, and wanted to see what it was like to run for a government position. And this guy, one of her professors, said, "Oh, no one's running against Ed Emmett in Houston. Why don't you run against him?" And so he supposedly used her family's address and like filled out the application. And it was the same year that Beto was running, and it was a straight ticket run. And so basically, she somehow won, and everyone was like, "How the heck is a 28-year-old becoming one of the largest county judges?" She had never even stepped foot in our commissioner's court, and she didn't even know what the astroturf was.
What's the name of the professor?
What?
What's the name of the professor?
I'd have to look up his name, but he's someone that's not good. I know that. He's worked with like Clinton and all of them. But it's bad. It's really not that good. And basically, since Judge Lena Hidalgo, and Adrian Garcia and Alice have gotten together, this group of 3 people have just
Ambush.
Yeah, they've literally like pillaged our county. It's unlike anything that you've ever seen. Like when Harvey, she came on the same year that Harvey hit. Do you remember Harvey? Okay. Our county still hasn't received all the FEMA funds. There's still people whose houses flooded that they still haven't received the funds. And when I went to look into it to see as to why they didn't receive the funds, it turned out there was a city clerical error. And someone had called in from FEMA saying, "Hey, we've got all this money, but you're not filling out this piece of paper correctly. You need to do it." And they didn't do it. And so it's been, almost 4 years since it happened. And, it's diabolical. So all of these law firms came in and started suing up all these insurance companies. And then I went to look into the law firms, and they were all huge donors of the Democratic Party, and like judges and all of that kind of jazz in my city. And I'm like, huh. So who profits off of people not receiving the FEMA funds? The lawyers.
Good question.
Exactly. The lawyers do. So if these lawyers from these large law firms that are donating to, like, so I went to look at these law firms and who they donated to, and they all have donated to Nina Hidalgo back in 2018. And I'm like, why did they donate to her? She's only 28 years old, and these are like small law firms. These are like $billion-dollar law firms, or the law firms that make like billions of dollars. And they had donated to her like $20,000. That's odd. Strange, isn't it? I don't think I just blew your mind.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, you got it.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah, the wheels.
No, we never took it
yeah,
out.
so you know, it's just so I started to look into like all of these.
Oh, I guess
You know,
it's a
my big thing is always following the news. You start to find the patterns
Good.
of like what's going
Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
And
That's where the truth is. Right?
exactly, yeah, you can't buy with facts or money. And you know, it's just like Rodney Ellis, for example. Do you remember Acorn, the foundation?
Sure.
Okay, so Acorn, the members of Acorn, once it got taken down, there's this new.
You're doing great work, by the way.
Thank
And
you.
I'm sure listeners are very impressed.
So there's
Remember,
this,
you can only follow her on Twitter. Don't have a website.
I know, so there's this organization called the Texas Organizing Project, and
It's so
it
strange
goes by
because I
TALK.
would never like.
And basically, it's Acorn repackaged. The
Oh.
people from Acorn started this foundation, and now Rodney Ellis from my county is donating like $250,000 to them, $100,000. Like in 2019, he donated $100,000. 2020, he donated $250,000. And then this organization can just donate whatever they want to whatever judges or politicians. So I'm like, oh, that's how he's basically, you know, playing chess with our judges and all of these other people. Because he got a shit's creek because he was using one of our public storages to hold all this work. He spent $326,000 taxpayer dollars to outfit this storage unit. He was giving people like tours of it, but he claimed he didn't know who the owner of this artwork was. So they busted him, and for some reason, the grand jury decided not to go forward with it. And I'm like, what is going on in my county? Like, this guy was caught red-handed, guilty. But he did have one of the best lawyers, and like he had Rusty Gordon, who represented like people like Robert Durst and like big time criminals. And it's just insane to me.
Oh,
like, the amount of illegal
Oh, you know what? It's
activity
in my
I know
bag.
this
It's over
country
there.
is and how he can get away with
Are you
it.
serious?
I know how he gets away with it because he owns all the judges. You know, he's like the kingmaker, but I don't see how it's legal him donating nearly $350,000 to an organization project if he's just a commissioner.
It's working.
You know, it's like, where is all this money going?
So, Melissa, talk about what you were showing me there on the phone.
Oh yeah, the commissioner's court.
Yeah.
Do you want me to just give you like a rundown of how I do things? Okay, so
You're like my dog.
if you're concerned about your city, the commissioner's court is the best way to go about things.
Okay, so look.
They usually have meetings every 2 weeks, and during these meetings, they go through all of these proposals and budget items, and that's where all of our taxpayer dollars are going. So I would always suggest, like, if you have an issue with crime or homelessness or something along the lines of that, go and look at your the money that your city is spending on that. And the commissioner's court is the best way to go about it. You can speak there. You can speak against the agenda items. So if you go and pick up the agenda items, or just call into your county to give you the agenda list, just go through it. there's something that you see that doesn't feel right or sit right with you, call in and like all you have to do is just call in. You don't even have to show up to the commissioner's court. You can call in.
Tell a video.
And it's great because at least you get the message out you need to. And because I think that what's happening with them is that they realize that they had a block on our commissioner's court, and that the Houston Chronicle wouldn't report the absolute corruption happening. So they were just pushing all this stuff through. And when I came in,
Who owns them?
what do you mean?
The Houston Chronicle.
A Democrat.
You said Marxist, right?
Yeah, I know that there's definitely CCP money in there, and I know that like Bill Gates donates a ton of money to the Texas Tribune, which is
Have you
like,
worked with Ivory Hecker?
no, but I know. She's doing some great work. She actually just posted a video of me going on the commissioners about Astroworld because they had sent a cleanup crew there that night. And I'm like, why would you send a cleanup crew to a mass casualty event? I'm like, usually with mass casualty events,
That's a mistake.
yeah, that or it could have been one of those things, or I mean, like, because they're claiming that people were getting crushed, but when I went through like the first responders reports, they said that people were literally just dropping down in cardiac arrest, and I'm like, that's not the same thing as being trampled on. And the Houston Chronicle won't pick up the story about the cleanup crew, even though everyone knows that there was a cleanup crew there sometimes. We're like, unless you're trying to, like, they were sending a cleanup crew to clean up the area.
We shouldn't have investigated.
Yes, that's what's so like messed up about it. They're like, why would you do that?
They're confiscating evidence.
Exactly.
Cleaning up evidence.
Exactly. And so the fact that the Houston Chronicle.
Who was the crew? The company.
It's a good question. I should look into that. But I mean, I have so much going on right now with my county that
Hardly. You're speaking for almost 30 minutes. You said very little.
it's a lot of stuff that's going on.
Okay.
But
So you are incredibly active,
yes.
and are you having what are some of the accolades? What are some of the accomplishments?
Well, I brought attention to this $11 million contract that the county was trying to award to a woman who was a DNC operative. They were going to give her $11 million for vaccine and outreach, but it was only a one-person shop. Where it was lifted out of an apartment, a one-bedroom apartment. Like, there was no office, there was nothing. It was basically just them doing a money grab, and it was $11 million. So they were able to cancel the contract when the commissioners found out that that was going on. Also, right now, I'm trying, because they passed an agenda item.
Do you have any commissioners that like you?
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I have. It's like there is a 2 to 3 locks, so I've got 2 on my right that like me. The 3 others hate me. Literally hate me. Like when I walk in, like you can see the scowls.
And those names are again, the people that hate you are
Adrian Garcia, Rodney Ellis, and Luna Yoga. Yeah, I'm a real fan of Jack Cagle and Tom Ramsey. But yeah, no, lost my train of thought. It's just, I think that a lot of people need to realize that the only way to create change and to get rid of corruption in your city or your county is to get involved. And so many people, like, they just don't know where to start. And this is the best place to start, is your commissioner's courts. Because right now, I do believe that our country is under infiltration. And the only way that
whole country.
Yeah, the whole country. I mean, you see it every night when you turn on the news. There's just
that was the most honest election ever.
Don't even get me started on so last year in 2020 they spent $38 million on our election. In 2016 they spent $4 million. That was 10 times more than they spent. I'm like, why would they need to spend that much money?
You're saying the DNC?
Yeah. I mean, we had CTCL, which is Zuckerberg. We got that money. We got We got a whole bunch of money from the DNC, and then we had this guy named Chris Collins who worked for 44 and McKinsey. I'm sure you know about McKinsey. So it's just basically deep state, like.
Oh, deep state.
Yeah, basically.
I can ask you to define deep state when you brought it up. Brought it up, Melissa.
Marissa.
What?
It's Marissa.
Oh, Merissa.
But no, basically, this Chris Collins guy comes in. He's 34 years old. He takes over for the county clerk who always ran our elections. And I'm like, why is a 34-year-old with like no experience in running an election, running our 2020 election during COVID? And so Chris comes in, and the very first thing he does is request $17 million for the election, and then creates this like plan of they allowed drive-through voting, 24-hour voting. He mailed out like over 4 million, or I think it was like 2.6 or 2.7 million mail-in ballots. And the weirdest part about it was that when Ken Paxton was fighting him over the mail-in ballots, the CEO of this very large grocery chain in Texas, H-E-B, wrote an amicus brief for Chris Mullins to get the mail-in ballots accepted. And like, why is a billionaire that I know is a very large Democratic donor advocating for this? And so I look up this billionaire, and he sits on the same board as Rodney Ellis and Sheila Jackson for communities and schools. And I'm like, oh, that explains everything. Because Rodney Ellis is known, like, he's known for allegedly harvesting ballots. Like, there's been a lot of people that have been involved with him and Sheila Jackson Lee that have done so. And we have the evidence that, like, there is a lot of fraud. They even apparently homeless veterans voted in the 2020 election, and that really makes me angry. I can tell you that every day of the week. That how are they able to see who they voted for? Homeless veterans. And when the proposal of an audit of our city came up, that day they passed an agenda item refusing the audit, and they already had lawyers. I'm like, why? Like, there's no transparency, and so I called them out on that because I was like, look, I know that you guys cheated in this election, and I was like, and right now, like, they're calling it conspiracy theories, and I'm like, these are concerns from your constituents. These aren't conspiracy theories. These are actual concerns. It's like nowadays, when you have a concern, it's now coined as a conspiracy theory, and I'm like, they've been manipulating our words now, and it's getting to a point where, like, our county is a banana republic. I can't get answers from them. I always have to go dig into contracts to find the corruption or get answers. Like, I've been calling these commissioners' offices, and the only two people that ever get back to me are the Republicans. The Democrats, they will never take my calls. They will never answer my questions. And there's something very insidious happening. I mean, it's me, what they're doing. And
The mayor?
oh, he's as dirty as they come. We call him Sly Turner. His name's Sylvester Turner. He's at 6th Street right now as well because he was doing bid rigging for a housing development, and he got busted for it. But the city council passed agenda item for no investigation. I'm like, how are we, like, what world are we living in that someone breaks the law and then the council member or the government official is able to stop the investigation? It's like, I feel like we're living in a parallel universe with this stuff that's happening in the country. It's insane, isn't it?
Merissa, talk a little bit about. Okay, well, first off, you've been doing this for 2 years.
Yeah, but I mean, I was doing a lot of reading and, like, focusing on the financial stuff for a year when I was at Santa Fe, and I was going through like I was looking at Santa Fe's laws that they were passing, and that's when I started to get really concerned because they were decriminalizing sexual assaults, pedophiles. I mean, you name it, they were doing, and they
Santa
couldn't.
Fe,
Yeah,
wow.
Santa Fe's real bad. It's like New Mexico is super bad. Like Governor Michelle Grisham is as corrupt as they come, and you won't believe what she's done to her citizens. Like during COVID, she locked down the entire state. She wouldn't let the Native Americans go into the city. She quarantined them all onto their reservation. It was like some kind of Trail of Tears thing that they were doing to the Native Americans because they couldn't sell any of their goods, and that's how they make a living. Is going out to this town square and
Dependent on the U.S. economy.
yeah, and she shut everything down, and it wasn't shut down just for a few months. It was for an entire year. And then they were having all of these, and then after January 6th, she had fences around the Capitol up until I left, which was
Santa Fe?
Yeah, in May.
Were there any protests?
There was one protest, and that was it.
BLM.
No, well, they did BLM, and she didn't put fences up then, but it was after January 6th. Yeah, I mean, these people, and
So you're in Santa Fe, and that's when you realize it's
something funky.
in
is
Santa
going
Fe.
on. Well, no, I knew that. Like Santa Fe is just as bad as they come. That's where Epstein had Zora Ranch, and then there's Los Alamos.
It is what marriage?
He had his ranch up there, Zora Ranch.
Epstein.
And then there's Los Alamos Lab, which is just like 45 minutes from there, and that's where Project Paperclip happened. The Manhattan Project happened, and then Bill Gates is from New Mexico.
What?
You didn't know that? Yeah, he's from Albuquerque.
Or?
I'm not sure, but I know he's from New Mexico. But, and so think about it, like testing, Alamo Lab, genetics, and then you've got Epstein's Ranch 45 minutes from there.
Something's happening in New Mexico.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that happens there, and no one ever talks about it.
Right.
Because
New Mexico's never on the radar.
Yeah, it's never on the radar. So
By design, it sounds like maybe.
yes, definitely. And that's what I think is so astonishing because I've spent quite a bit of my life up there, and I know so much. I've read so much, and I know so much about the corruption in New Mexico, and I'm like, why is it never spoken about? I feel like there's a treasure trove of stuff, and I'm sure I'm only scratching the surface.
So anyway, if you're in New Mexico, then you said, okay, I'm going to go to Houston and start hanging up here in Houston.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had my lease was up there because I had gotten a rental house. My lease was up, so I was like, okay, I'm moving back to Houston. And then once I moved back to Houston, I was like, good God, I was not expecting this. And it's bad. It's real bad. I mean, I've probably come across hundreds of millions of dollars that is not accounted for. And the stuff.
Hundreds of millions is not accounted for on an annual basis?
Yeah. And I mean, the election stuff alone is bothersome to me because when this Chris Collins guy came in, they created an election administrator position and gave it to this woman who is extremely progressive. She's pro-trans rights. She's lesbian, and she's getting paid over 6 figures to run our elections. And I'm like, but that was our county clerk's job. Why did they bring a Democratic operative, which she is, in to run our elections unless she's doing something funky? So we had the HISD election, which just happened about a month ago. And the night of the election, the systems went down. And it turned out, she claimed that it was an outlet that was out. And I was like, why would you plug it into a bad outlet? You could have easily tested it, that you have one job and you messed it. And she had within a matter of a couple of days in the early voting, they had received over 44,000 mail-in ballots. And I'm like, this is a school election. In our Democratic primary, over an 11-day period, they received 47,000 meal benefits. I'm like, this is just for schools and school boards. I'm like, it's obvious that they're cheating. And they're still doing the 24-hour voting. They still have the drive-through voting. It's one of the most insane things I have ever seen in my entire life. And my biggest goal is to just try to fix our elections, but I don't know if it's possible.
That'd be your main.
Yeah, that's my
focus.
biggest thing. Yeah, I mean, if anything, I would want the 2020 election to be overturned because I don't know how much longer I can watch what's happening to our country. It breaks my heart every day when I see those children getting carried through our border, and I know that they're lost. Like, as soon as they get on a plane, I know that they're never probably going to ever see their parents again. I know the amount of drugs that are coming into our country and fentanyl and all those deaths that are coming from that. And, you know, they shut down travel to South Africa, but they leave our border wide open. Like, what is this? Like, this is not America. What is, like, I honestly feel that we are under a hostile takeover. And, you know, we've got a traitor in our office that wants to see the destruction of our world. I mean, there's no other way about it. Why would someone knowingly allow children to be trafficked, drugs to be trafficked into our country? Why would someone that runs our country want children to be segregated and be told that they are oppressor and oppressee? Like, this isn't the America I grew up with. And I don't recognize this America at all. This America, whatever's happening, I hate it. I don't sleep at night because of what's happening and the things that I'm seeing. And I don't. More people need to start getting up and getting active in local government because I think that we're being attacked on so many levels, like border, federal government. They're weaponizing the DOJ. They're weaponizing all of these federal agencies against us. I mean, the stuff that I hear happening to our service members is what really, really boils my blood. Like, I have a friend up in Arlington, Virginia, who is on a weekly basis, harassed about his religious exemption from the vaccine. And the amount of testing he has to go through, it's insane. Like, I spoke to him yesterday, and he had gone through 5 PCR tests, and they were all, like, coming back, like, wrong or inconclusive, and he's like, I've been sitting here for 3 hours. He's like, this is such a waste of time. And I was like, why won't they give you guys the antibody test? Our military don't get the antibody test. They only get the PCR test.
Which is highly ineffective.
Yeah.
Not accurate.
Yeah.
Merissa, I said I was going to do this, so now I'm going to do it. How do you define the deep state?
Well, I mean, I think the veil's been lifted.
I mean, whether you're Democrat or Republican, right? I mean,
the
country is.
Yeah, it's getting ran by the deep state right now, and it's, you know,
It's changing, right? I mean, there's apparent forces within it that are openly stating. We've already mentioned BLM openly stating that they want communism here, so they're pushing that.
Yeah, no,
Is George Soros deep state? I mean, so it's
I
honestly.
don't think so. I mean, I think that we have a lot of people that are deep state that are running our country as presidents, and
How do you define it? What is the deep
well,
state?
I believe that, like, these huge marketing companies like McKinsey, Bain Capital, they're all just like they claim that they're big companies, but I think what they really are doing is making states work for them. Because if you start going through your commissioner agenda items, Baker Ripley, McKinsey, Boston Consulting Group, all these very large corporations are getting awarded very lucrative contracts in local government, which I'm like, this makes no sense. Why are they getting $15 million for immigration? Like, just recently, in the past year, my county alone has passed $4 million for illegal pay for ILSF, so they can pay. So our taxpayer dollars can pay for these illegal detainees to become a citizen of America. And like everyone thinks that it's just on the federal level that like you've heard about the 450,000 that they're receiving.
Yeah.
And it's not just that. It's also on the local level. I mean, we're getting hit on so many.
I'm going to pay you to invade America.
And then, we're our taxpaying dollars are basically paying for the people to infiltrate our country.
Yeah, come destroy America. So deep state, you're saying is tied to these banking.
Yeah, no, it's not just banking. It's consulting. It's everything under the sun. You know, they've infiltrated everything. Companies, local government, businesses. I mean, our churches are infiltrated. You know, I was kicked out of my synagogue for speaking up against Peter Hotez.
Really?
Yeah.
You're kicked out.
Yeah, I was kicked out. I was banned. I was banned from my family's cemetery.
You banned from the cemetery. It's insane.
Yeah, because basically, my
Family's Jewish on both sides?
no, not my mother's, but my father's side was. And basically, I found out that they were honoring Peter Hotez, who I know is testing on children the vaccine. And he created a vaccine, the COVID vaccine, for children in India. And they've been testing on children in India for a while. And he's with Gabby and Bill Gates and all of them.
And he's a member of your synagogue, or he's
he's a member of my synagogue, and so I went there and I said we shouldn't be like when he got up to like speak. I said we shouldn't be honoring someone that's doing stuff.
But that's an opinion that you were smoking now.
But you would think so. You would think so. I have the emails. It's the craziest thing you would. I mean, I never thought that we would be in this type of
battle.
Yeah, but like it's happening, and yeah, this is what he said.
Congregation manual. Oh, okay. So
It's like due to your complete lack of respect for our worship services, the clergy and the congregation and our invited guests who are no longer welcome to the building on either of our properties, and either the Congregation Emmanuel or the Emmanuel Memorial Park, which is my family's grave area.
So you're prohibited from
Ever entering. And they
the
threatened.
synagogue and
Yeah. And
cemetery.
and they threatened me with arrest if I did so.
Have you filed a complaint?
I will, but I told them that what they were doing was illegal because my family owns the property.
The cemetery?
Well, like in the cemetery, you
Okay.
pay for your
Buy
your plot. So legally they can't do that, but they're still trying to do it. So I informed them that what they were doing was illegal, and they still haven't responded to me. So I'm gonna have a lawyer write a letter to them and say what they're doing is illegal. It's just every morning I wake up and I'm like, how is
So-
what we're experiencing?
Let me ask you this, Merissa. And you've dug up, you've made a lot of great connections here, and anybody concerned about Houston, San Jose, certainly, rightfully so, should be following the work you're doing. But we peel back and we say, and it's, you know, I mean, it's I think a lot of Americans simply are living in denial. This is actually happening to their country.
I think that a lot of people are starting to realize that something isn't quite right, but they can't put their finger on it. And that's, I think, what our job is to do, is to be like, hey, we need to take the darkness and put some light on it. And I think, that's what you do, that's what I do, and we're trying to do it in any way that we can, but the censorship is such a problem. I mean, it really is. And the fact that a lot of people...
But we're having an impact because the current administration is, backpedaling a lot of things.
Oh yeah, and the courts are doing a lot of the work, which is good. Like with the mandates and stuff like that. That's that gives me relief because the vaccine mandates have been if they fire you for something like this, sue them. Like, I hope all of these companies that are enforcing it get bankrupted.
Okay, so
Sorry.
no, yes. So I asked. So I'm just going to share this with you. I had a Florida representative about a month and a half ago on my show. His name is Anthony Sabatini.
Yeah, I know Anthony.
You know Anthony?
Yeah.
Okay, so I asked Anthony this question, and I'm going to ask you the question. I want to see your response.
Okay.
He says this institution, and I'll reveal what I'm talking about here. He says this institution is unconstitutional and needs to be repealed.
Yeah. With the vaccine mandates?
No, I'm going to tell you what the institution is. No, so the institution that he says that is unconstitutional and needs to be repealed is this, and I want you to give your opinion to listeners. What is the Federal Reserve Central Bank?
It needs to be something different. The Fed needs to go. It's owned by the deep state. All of the bankers, all of these people that are getting these government contracts are all tied to the Fed.
They're all tied to the Fed. Surprise, private bank.
Yeah.
Would you agree now? I don't know if you have a lot of
Well, it's owned by the Rothschilds.
How do you know that?
Everyone knows that. Most people do.
What do you mean?
I mean, it's not decentralized. I mean, it's
Private, right? It's
yeah,
private.
yeah. We're slaves to the Fed. We're slaves to all of this stuff, and until we destroy the Fed, or not destroy the Fed, but get rid of the Fed, this cartel and everything.
So it's not American? Would you say it's not
No,
American?
nothing about it's American. Nothing about what the Fed has become is American. We're basically owned by it, and until we get rid
Like a
of
foreign entity? Is it a foreign entity?
Yes.
So we're subservient to a foreign entity.
Yeah.
Are we slaves? Are we all slaves? We're all slaves to this
We're
entity?
basically slaves right now. Yes.
We're economic slaves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Almost
we're
a $30 trillion federal debt.
Yeah. Exactly.
I can see.
As long as we feed the federal government, we're economically enslaved to them.
Yes.
It doesn't matter who you are, what you look like.
Yeah, I mean, NATO needs to go, the Fed needs to go, all of it needs to go. Like, our country needs to be gutted and cleaned out and go back to the Constitution.
How does that happen?
So I'm in the media.
I mean, my work that you're doing, right? The work that I'm doing,
Yeah, I mean,
do we just continue on this path?
well, I think that this is a start. We've got a pretty large...
Is it growing?
I think that it's growing. I see it every day.
Do you feel supported outside of the two council folks?
In the past couple of months, my work is starting to get a bit more noticed, and I'm getting phone calls from people giving me tips about what's going on in our county. A lot of city workers tell me. I just got a call the other day from a city court reporter, or she's a stenographer, and she was telling me that the court opted into the silver sticker program, which is basically whether or not you're vaccinated. You have to wear a sticker if you're not vaccinated. And I'm like, that's a civil rights no-no. But what's so crazy about it is that people don't seem to realize that the ACLU is now getting subsidized. It's crazy. It's so it's like, where do these people go for these civil rights issues if the ACLU isn't going to be there to help you? I mean, do you remember, what was it, like 20 years, or no, it was longer than that. It was probably back in the 80s where that man, who was Jewish actually, represented the Nazis because they wanted to march in this very thorough, or like a very condensed Jewish community. And the ACLU lawyer, who was Jewish himself, was the one that represented them. And in this day and age, I don't think that we would ever be able to do something like that. We're under attack. I mean, it sometimes does feel like we're in the middle of like a civil race war. There's definitely been a shift in what's going on. We're supposed to view each other as equals, and we're not there anymore. It's this class system that they're creating, and it's not easy to watch. I can tell you that. I don't like it, and I don't think a lot of people do. And I don't know what it's going to take, but something has to break
That's
soon.
one too.
And I think all of us kind of feel like we're Coke cans being shaken up and like we're waiting for something to happen. You know, it's hard.
What would you like listeners to walk away with?
If something doesn't sit right with you, trust your intuition. Get involved with your local government because the only change that is going to happen is going to come from you. And if you want to see our country fall to pieces, don't get involved. But if you want,
You can get on a raft and go to Cuba.
yeah. I mean, that's the direction that we're headed. If people don't get their
Like leave.
yeah,
Right? Like if you don't like it, you leave.
or
Try to change it.
yeah, it's like why try
Is that
to
too abrupt?
no, not at all. I mean, people really need to get that fire in their belly, and I don't know at what point something needs, like, we need to start instilling fear into others to make them realize that if we don't turn this ship around, we're done for. We're like every day I keep on saying more whistleblowers in the government need to come forward because their pensions are not going to make any difference in 3 years from now if we continue on this route.
Crash dollar.
Yeah. Their pensions are going to mean nothing if they don't stand up now and save our country. That goes for DHS, the people the men at our border, the men and women that are protecting our border. You wouldn't believe what they're getting put through. It's unreal. And I was talking to someone that I knew, one of my contacts down there, and the stuff that he's telling me, and I'm like, and I keep on telling him, you need to get more whistleblowers forward, and you all need to go to the news. It can't be just one person. It needs to be an army.
Yes.
Yeah, and like we need that on every single level. We need it in the DOJ. We need it everywhere. We need it at DHS. We need it. It's the only way that I feel like something's gonna break, or if they expose what's happening, because we've got. It's not just Mexican cartels that are coming through our border. It's Ukrainian cartels.
Haitian.
Yeah, Haitians, all of it. And people don't seem to realize that.
It's kind of like the kitchen sink and everything else is being thrown.
Yeah, it's like we've
Not
got
American,
we've
destroy.
got like the Great Reset. We've got like George Soros. Like we've got China, George Soros. We've got all these billionaires. Like it's like we literally have the kitchen sink thrown at us. And the only way that like we're gonna fix this is to more people start getting involved on a local level, because it's not just the federal level that we're screwed.
Is there this foreign entity that's controlling the government financial system, right? We can assess that the Financial Reserve Bank is a private bank.
Yeah.
It's a foreign entity. It's
Right.
not run by Americans. Nothing goes through Congress.
Right.
Even though the Constitution clearly states, Article 1, Section 8, right, that Congress has that power to
Right.
coin, and they specifically write coin money. Gold standard dollars from 1971, Richard Nixon.
Yeah.
This is fiat currency that we're living with continues to sink the country further to debt.
Yeah.
And then, like you're saying, now we're being attacked.
On all fronts. And so the only way that I feel like we can turn this ship around is if everyone starts getting more involved, because I think so many people have been so asleep for so long that they're starting to wake up now, but they don't know where to get
Where to
started.
go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the best way that I found, the most effective thing for me was my commissioner's work. Getting involved with commissioner's work, city council, anything along the lines of that. Just try, like, go to a town hall meeting. Do whatever doesn't feel right to you, do something. Sorry.
And it gives me 60 minutes a minute.
Oh, yeah,
But
yeah,
we're still
yeah.
recording here.
Oh, okay.
And it's actually streaming live. So
Oh, cool.
we just take a pause here.
Excuse my language.
Or what?
Excuse
What?
my language.
Why? What's you say?
Oh, I said shit.
Oh my gosh, should I repeat that? It's a family show, Marissa.
Oh, sorry.
My goodness. Okay, hold on. It's just uploading here. So, all right, so you're suggesting people.
A lot of people just don't realize how to get involved, and it's so easy. You don't have to have a Harvard education. You don't have to have a college education. If there's something that you don't like in your county or your city,
Yeah.
you can just show up to your county meeting and say something. It's so simple, but a lot of people just don't know how to get started. And that's something that I really want more people to focus on is all you have to do is just jump on Google, type in Commissioner's Court, and it will take you straight there. Or City Council, and then just look up the public county's meetings or your city's meetings. It's so simple, and if you're not able to show up, just sign up to call in, and it's 2 minutes out of their day, but at least you're getting your voice out there and heard. And if there's something that you're seeing that's not right, bring it to your neighbor's attention. It's not getting reported on the news. It's not getting reported in the newspapers. It's only reported through word of mouth, and that's why I've gotten such a big following, because I go in and I highlight all the corruption, and that's how it gets out.
So, Merissa, if this is a communist invasion.
It is.
Okay, so it's a
Marxist, communist, whatever it is.
where does this come from? Where does communism come from?
It's a loaded question. I mean, you could go back to Stalin, you could go back to Lenin.
But you're saying Stalin, you're not saying the Chinese. You're saying
The Chinese too, but
The
I mean, it was yeah.
so it
It was,
predates.
yeah.
It originates elsewhere.
Well, I mean, we've got China, we've got Russia, we've got all of it. I mean, it's. I wouldn't. But like the Marxist thing, I mean, if you go back, because I researched the weather underground a long time ago, and a lot of the Marxist stuff happened with, the SDS, the Student Democrat system, which created the weather underground, which was Bill Ayers, Susan Rosenberg, Bernice Dorn, Eric Mann, and all of them. And if you start looking at the history, when, Jerry Nadler pushed to get Susan Rosenberg pardoned by Clinton, so he did that in his 11th hour. He pardoned Susan Rosenberg,
Right.
and then they created BLM. And, because Eric Mann was the one who trained for These Colors the One, and then you've got Bill Ayers, who, had Obama, and, you start looking at it, and you're like,
Did they connect back to Soros?
I've always tried to tie those two together, but I know that they're involved, but they're very good with the dark money to not show how they're with each other. But we know that Act Blue was a juggernaut for BLM, and who was donating all this money to Act Blue? The foundation, 1630, Arabella Advisors. So, it was. If you know how to look through these foundations, it's very easy to figure out who the higher ups are that are donating to BLM. Antifa has always been something that's been very difficult for me to find the funding for. They're very good at hiding it because they have all these.
Antifa.com is owned by a Seattle-based
Really?
organization.
Well, that doesn't surprise me.
You got to peel back a lot of layers, but
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Anything out of Seattle is terrible right now. Did you see that they just passed a law, or the governor of Oregon? Oh my God, it's the most racist thing I've ever seen. She's gotten rid of grading for math, science, and English, claiming to help people of color. And I was like, isn't that?
wow, that's
I was like, that's racist.
discriminatory.
I was like, that sounds really racist to me. Hold on, let me find the article here. Oregon governor science bill removing reading, writing, and math requirements for high school kids to help students of color.
Is this serious?
I'm like,
That's serious.
yes,
It's a real.
it's a real thing, and I'm like, how is this not considered the most racist thing you've ever heard? Is that they're saying that people of color shouldn't be
Yeah,
graded?
right.
They are setting us up for failure. When you tell someone that they shouldn't strive for competition, our country has been coddled to no end. And right now, I'm at the point where it's tough love. No more kitty gloves or putting a nice little bow on this. What's happening? It's we need to be tough about what's happening. You have to give them tough love and like feel like it's time to wake up and slap them around.
All right, so maybe just mention this, and we'll close up.
Yeah.
And they mentioned this too. So, you follow money. That's something that I like to do as well.
Always follow money.
It's hard to do if you have a veil that you can't get past, then the federal reserve
So
bank.
the best way to follow the money in your county is by going through Corporation Wiki. So with the agenda items that your county is passing for the commissioner's court, you just press on the link and then look up the LLC or like whoever the owner of the company is, and then go to Corporation Wiki. If you go to Corporation Wiki, it's gonna start coming out with all these like mind maps of the owner's companies. And usually if you see something like restaurants, art galleries, and then they all of a sudden get like a $20 million contract for putting like doormats or wheelchair mats, you know that they're probably laundering money or doing something shady. So I would always suggest because there is a veil, the best way to go about it is by going to the Corporation Wiki and trying to find the connections or like pattern recognition.
So there's a lot of work to do in America, on the home front.
Yeah.
But could there be, from a broader
Like foreign funds, I mean,
yeah. So I'll set this up in a different way though, because we talked about communism, and you're talking about the Houston Chronicle being a Marxist.
yeah.
But let's identify. You're saying Stalin. Identify. So the Chinese are kind of basically
I mean, we have a state representative in my county, Jean Wu. His wife is Maya Shea, and his wife's grandmother was high up at the CCP. And they're like extremely involved with the Asia Society. They were always at our Chinese consulate. But remember, Trump shut down the consulate in Houston, Texas. I was actually there when it happened. I lived a few blocks away, and you could see the smoke billowing up because they were burning all the documents that they had been spying on us with. And guess who broke the story? Maya Shea. I'm like, huh. And then if you go and look at like Jean Wu's tweets, all of his tweets are like, Trump tells people to drink bleach, or like it's just him bashing Trump and like telling people saying like Republicans are the enemy, and like he's a huge proponent of CRT and everything like that. This guy is like full of hate. But so I kind of gave him a smackdown the other day because he was attacking Trump, and so I retweeted him, and then I put the area that he represents up, and the crime rates, and it was up 145%, and it had a grade of F. And I'm like, the only way we're going to start fighting these Marxist commies back is by like just showing what a shitty job they're doing representing our country. Because that's like, they all need to be primary, they all need to be flushed out of our system, and they fight dirty, and like it's time for us to fight fire with fire. But the way that they fight is overly broad generalizations. We fight with our brains. So if you start like hitting them with facts, being like, look at what a terrible job you're doing in our country. Your county or the area that you represent, crime is up 145%. But all you do is sit on Twitter and hate on the Republicans. Why don't you go do some change? And so that's basically what I've been doing with all of these representatives and local politicians. I've been finding out as much dirt as I can on them. So when they're up for elections, I'm just going to throw everything that I have against them, because the records don't lie. The way that they vote doesn't lie. The things that they're doing to our country or their areas don't lie. So the way for us to fight back is with facts and showing how ineffective and what a waste of time they are for our country and much of the past.
What do you think about the United Nations?
It's evil. Evil. I mean, all of the money that goes to the UN's involvement with everything is just insane, and I never really see them do anything good. Like the UN is supposed to stop.
Power hungry organization.
No. It's supposed to stop wars, but since it started, how many wars have happened? It's hundreds.
Vietnam, certainly.
Yeah,
Iraq, Afghanistan.
What's the purpose of it? The United Nations was supposed to create peace. There is no peace under the United Nations.
It's just consolidated.
Yeah, I think it's
Power.
It's just it's consolidated power, and it's
Consolidated war machine.
and it's been taken over by communists.
How do you see what do you mean?
Well, we've got there's a guy, someone from Venezuela that's like running it, right? I think it's Venezuela or Nicaragua, but we've got there's a lot of communists, people in communist countries that have prominent positions at the UN. So it does make sense.
At the New York office.
No, throughout the country, throughout the world, and these people are in very large, power-hungry positions. So I can't think of names for the life of me right now. I'm sorry, I read so much, but I am aware that there are a lot of commies at the UN.
Yeah.
So they're kind of all in lockstep with what's happening in our country right now. And they're not going to be here to help us if we need help. You see what's happening in Russia and Ukraine right now, and then you go look at what's happening in Afghanistan, and then you go see what's happening in China and Taiwan. Nothing. And then Iran and Israel. I feel like we're about to we're headed towards a world war if we don't. Look at us. What do you think? You see how all of our tensions, we have the worst diplomatic power, people in our country that are just a waste of space. And all their, how have we gotten to this point in 11 months? For 4 years, we never were at wars. There was nothing. And, look how crazy things have gotten. In just 11 months. It's insane. NATO is flying airplanes over the Black Sea right now. I was reading an article about that this morning. I'm like, what? Something needs to break. And I keep on saying that because where we're headed, we're at a point of no return. It does feel like that. You see what's happening. What's your point of view on, the upcoming wars that could happen?
Does a communist style of government, does that
No, it doesn't work. It never works. It's never worked. Look at Venezuela. That ship turned around real fast and quick in a hurry. As soon as they got that guy in there, what was it? 8 months that everything just went to shit. Communism does not work. Everyone thinks that it's all great.
But it spreads the wealth.
But it doesn't. It always
consolidates.
Yes, it goes to the higher ups. Yeah. It's I have a friend that calls our judge El Comandante, and I'm sure you're familiar with El Comandante. It's just making fun of a commie leader that's ruthless and stuff like that. And it's just, it doesn't work. It never works. Communism has never worked. They keep on trying it, and they keep on failing. But this time around, this is getting a little too close to comfort.
Right, it's too close to home. Now it's
Yeah.
It is home.
Yeah, it's home for us.
That's on the front door.
Yeah, it's in our backyard. It's...
And sitting in the living room, right?
Yeah.
Sitting in
Well, you look at our media right now, and you know that whoever's running calling the shots with our media is right on par with running communism in our country.
Could the UN be controlling the media?
That's a good question. I wouldn't be surprised, but I think it's more the billionaires that own, the six guys that are controlling everything.
Who are the 6 guys?
Well, I can't. There's Les Moons, and there, it's the higher ups. The Rockefellers, the elites.
You put yourself in a trap here. 6 guys.
No,
It's,
you know what I mean.
It's sounding theoretical here.
Well, it's not theoretical. You've got the conglomerates that are owned by the elites, and they control. Like, I mean, you know how much the big pharma controls our commercials. You turn on your TV, and
Right.
you know,
Pharmaceutical.
yeah.
Like after every,
And like, what's so funny to me is always.
And that's really been ramped up in the past year, right?
I know.
It's like every other commercial.
It's like if you have restless leg syndrome, if you close your eyes, if you breathe, like I'm like this is.
You become like robot,
Yeah, it's
like chemical.
yeah.
infused
I
robot.
mean, it's like if you look at like how big pharma funds all of our advertising agencies and everything, it's wild. Like I think that a lot of it is psychosomatic. Like people listen to these commercials and they're like, oh, I have that. I mean, because some of the symptoms that they come out with are just crazy to me. No, it's okay.
I guess my God, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's okay.
This is going on.
It's going on a long time.
Okay, so Merissa,
Yeah.
6 families. Are you saying there's 6
No,
families?
I don't know if it's 6 families. I can't. Like I have it written down somewhere, but I've just been so focused on what's happening, like laser focused on.
I know, I brought the spectrum for you.
Yeah, you're
focused on
really
news
you're pushing me everywhere in every direction.
and the Black Sea.
Yeah, no, I know, right? So yeah, no, it's just.
Okay, but the work that you're doing is effective.
Yes, it is effective, and like the one thing that I've noticed is that just by like listing out the amount of money that is getting pushed through our local government level has really woken up a lot of people that weren't involved in politics. And it's what's so nice about it is that now more people are calling me to come to commissioner's court. People are calling me and asking me how they can get involved, and it's so easy. And like a lot of people, they feel pushed back because they don't know how to ask, or they feel like the question that they're going to ask is stupid. The only stupid question is the question that's not asked. You know, I'd rather have someone ask me the dumbest question, as long as I can answer it and like get someone involved. That's all that matters. You know, it's just one foot in front of the next, really. So, you know, and we need boots on the ground on every single level. Right.
So have we met? We met before.
Yeah, we met at the last Great Weekend tour in San Antonio.
We met in San Antonio. Okay.
Yeah.
And you have you don't have a booth. You have a
No,
booth?
I don't have a booth. I usually just come to like meet and talk with people that are like-minded, and you know, we've got Jim Price who used to work at the DoD, and he always has such great information to give me with like the work that I'm doing. And I'm always so grateful to, like, I've met Shannon, who is a frontline doctor, and meeting Shannon, she was able to give me access.
Shannon.
Starts with a B, her last name, but I can't think of it for the life of me. But, you know, and I've met Stella Emanuel, and Stella Emanuel is from my city. And
Right.
I get a lot of moms that are calling me with, like, college-age sons and daughters who are freaking out about these vaccine mandates for the schools. And so, fortunately, because of coming to these events, I've made a lot of contacts and am able to get medical exemption for these moms who are just so worried about their kids. And you know, it makes a difference. But it's
Spoken with Mom and Bears.
yeah, the mom and bear, and what's so nice about it is, you know, because I do all this networking, I've been able to like make these like little like pamphlets that I can hand to the moms, and then they pass it along. And you know, I have rabbis that are now writing religious exemptions for people, and it's, you know, it's remarkable just by showing up to these events what a difference it can make in so many people's lives. It's not just my life that it's making a difference in. It's making a difference in a child's life, a mother's life, a parent's life. You know, that's what it's about. That's what all of this is about. It's just getting involved and helping others.
So I'm just saying that. Okay, so Merissa, thank you for your time. Again,
Thank you.
your Twitter handle.
It's Merissa Hansen 17.
Okay.
It's M as in Michelle, ERISSAHAN.
Not Melissa.
No, not
Although
Melissa.
it could be Melissa. Are you gonna pardon on that?
Yeah, no, totally fine.
So
You can
drink
talk
it-
to Trump about that. Just kidding.
You talked to Trump about that? Well, he
The
called you
pardons.
Melissa.
No.
Oh, the pardon. Oh, you can pardon President's pardon. All right. So, some closing closing comments here. Some closing. What do you want? What do you want the listeners to walk away with?
Just if you feel like something is wrong in your country, like do something. Like you'd be surprised just by showing up to a meeting what a difference it can make, and just gaining a little bit of information. And once you get that momentum going, don't stop, because our country relies on this right now. Like the only
The citizen
Yeah,
inquirer.
What's so remarkable to me is that all these patriots or Republicans keep on sitting back thinking Trump is going to come in and save all of us, and I'm like, no, we are. He gave us the tools. He's giving us the tools. He pulled back the curtain for us. Now it's our job to finish what he started. And the only way that we can do that is by getting involved on any level that you can. Moms, get involved in the school boards. Dads or parents, get involved in your town hall. Neighbors, just spread the word. Do it. Like, 'cause if you don't do it, who is?
If you don't do it, you're gonna lose.
Exactly.
Lose what you got.
Exactly.
You're already losing it.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is, I just want more whistleblowers to come forward. More whistleblowers need to come forward. They need to realize that their pension is going to make no difference in a year from now. At the rate we're going, it's not going to make a difference. It really isn't. So, fight like hell now, because soon we're not going to have a country if we don't.
Ladies and gentlemen, Merissa Hansen. Merissa, thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Oh, that was great. No, yeah, it was really good. No, because you went a lot of different areas.
Yeah.
It was great, but you're very well researched in all of those areas.
I read a lot.
You should read it.
You're like,
Yeah, and you threw out some great names for people to start investigating.
yeah. That's the whole thing, which is so crazy to me, is that people don't seem to understand, like,
Well, there's still confiding in the mainstream, right?
Yeah.
People that are going to see that or follow your tweets are now realizing, okay, well, Fox News and CNN are not good sources of.
everyone's a lot. Not many.
Yeah. So that's great. No, I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. It's exciting. I usually don't do these.
You don't?
Well, I don't like the video ones. always make me so uncomfortable.
Oh, the video? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
typically just do audio.
I normally